Hello, welcome to the latest We Are Content Club Pep Talk. Today we have Michelle and Ellen who are going to talk about how they came up with the idea of their conference access given and all the hurdles they overcame, and probably give you a bit of an outline of what the conference is going to be about. So over to you, Michelle and Ellen.
Thanks. So my name's Ellen. I don't mind too. We haven't really rehearsed this. So Al will introduce ourselves in a second. There's a slide about us, but my name's Ellen and I am here in the Northeast, and we are here to talk about our conference, Access Given. So there's a lot of running analogies in this. I guess I'll go ahead and cross over to the first slide. Michelle can introduce herself.
Hello, I'm Michelle. I am based in Edinburgh, but the accent throws people. I'm actually from Dublin. It always confuses people. So I'm a content designer and brand consultant. You might have seen me floating around in the heady days of Twitter as Specky Scribbler. I now go by Ogam. And for context, we haven't rehearsed this super well because the movers came to move me and all my possessions at 9 o'clock this morning. So if I am slightly frazzled or go off script more than usual, I do apologize. But yeah, that's me.
And I'm Ellen, obviously, and I am a content strategist, web designer. I'm here in the Northeast, like I said. I run Content by the Sea, which was a freelance group, but like freelance situation, but my husband joined back in 2020, so there's two of us, and I also write a weekly newsletter about mental health, the Chronically online, so maybe you've seen that as well. So yeah, like Michelle mentioned, Twitter is kind of where we met, I guess. So this is a bit more the real bit.
Yeah, so the reason that we have these photos and there's running analogies in this is because Ellen and I enable each other to do somewhat daft things. So one of the first things that we kind of encouraged each other to do was to do 2 half marathons 3 weeks apart. Ellen had actually done half marathons before. I had not. So in August last year, we ran a half marathon in Edinburgh, and then we ran the Great North Run. I do not recommend the half marathon in Edinburgh. It was a terrible, terrible route. But the Great North Run is a bit of crack, in fairness. So yeah, that was kind of one of the first things that we did together. And yeah, you can see Ellen's a lot happier and comfortable running than I am in the 2 photos there.
I just got really good at spotting the photographers, to be fair. So yeah, after the Great North Run, both of us had, I wouldn't say an empty calendar, because obviously we run businesses. I have a child and 2 dogs, and Michelle just at that time still had a puppy who's now, I suppose, an adult dog, but still very much a puppy. And we decided that what was the next thing that we could do. So we actually went to a conference together last year in June, and it was directed towards small businesses, but lots of different people go to this conference. And it was marketed as being accessible, but we didn't feel like it was. No, I don't know, maybe this will, not now we're recording this, I'm realizing that shouldn't maybe be going into too many details about the conference, but you might recognize this. But basically, we're sitting there in this amphitheater area. We're told to manifest our destiny at 10 o'clock in the morning. And bearing in mind, I'm from the Northeast, Michelle's Irish. We both just looked at each other and we were like, should we leave? Because that just isn't our vibe at all. That's not why it wasn't accessible, but that was just a classic case of us being like, we're not learning anything. And obviously, when you're a freelancer, you're going to attend a conference, you're taking a whole day out of work, you're hoping to learn something. And we both left early, really overwhelmed and isolated. I mean, I think Michelle was actually ill. Like, we were both not well by the conference. tickets were very expensive, and we really felt like people, especially freelancers or people who are having to take a full day out, really deserve something better. We felt like we could do something, not exactly the same as our conference because that's not our industry, but something that we felt like people could come to, learn something practical, and feel like they're in an accessible place. So our main two key goals for something that we were going to start together was actual practical information that people would take home and be able to apply to their business or role. And the second one, to not go home with a migraine and to feel like they've had a really good day and they actually learned something and they felt that the environment was accessible. So I'll let Michelle go through the context of how Access Given became that idea.
Yeah, so it was basically a well-thought whim. We kind of both left it and said, this isn't what it was marketed as. I think we could do better. I had an idea of doing it myself. I said it to my partner. He was like, go for it. Then Ellen and I were chatting away and she had the same idea. So we kind of just ran with it. There's going to be a lot of running puns. We don't really know what we're doing. We're kind of doing it anyway, seeing what happens. And we have rarely had actual formal chats about it. Like, most of the conversations we have are over Instagram messages, like snippets of conversations, while we're both doing other stuff. I think we probably had maybe 2 calls to actually plan it, and one of them was with our designer. And yeah, as the final bit there says, we're tired but we're doing it anyway. As I mentioned, I moved into a project house today, and Ellen was at the soft play and park with her toddler. So there's a lot going on in the background. I think there's more content.
Just to add up to the formal chats about it, I guess what we're trying to say here is that to create something like this and to turn an idea into a reality, you do have to really do it in your way. And we could sit there and say we have to have a weekly call and chat about it, but we couldn't physically do that. Our brains work, which is on the next page, but our brains work very differently. For example, last week Michelle said, okay, I don't think I can do any Access Given this week. There's too much going on. And I went, no problem. And then for the next 3 hours, she sent me repeated messages about Access Given and loads of really big ideas. I was like, I thought you weren't doing any Access Given today. So that's just kind of a perfect example of finding a partnership. If you're going to do it as a partnership, finding a partnership where they understand how your brain works, and also that it might not have to have a formal structure for it to have a concrete result.
Yeah, so we're both neurodivergent, which also means that big and scary things are extra big and scary for us, but we're still just kind of doing it. We also know that there's a high probability that we will burn out in the process of doing it or shortly after. So we're trying to pace ourselves with everything and allow decompression time, which I obviously failed at when I said I'm not going to do anything this week and then info dumped. But it's also why the day is structured the way it is, why we don't have formal check-ins, things like that. And the ADHD autistic balance works well for us. So I have ADHD, Ellen's autistic, and both of our partners are ADHD. So we're familiar with working with and running lives and things with somebody who has a very different kind of way that their brain works and works at different speeds. And a really, really, really important thing for us was we're trying to lean into the limitations and not put ourselves under too much pressure. So, a lot of people were asking, can we have panels? Could you run a panel? Could you have workshops? Could you do this? Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? The answer to most of those is yes, we have thought about it. And the reason that we're not doing it is because if there's a panel, you need somebody to share it. There's a lot more technical issues that could go wrong. We're not live streaming it either. So because we don't want the extra stress of what if the live stream fails, who's going to do tech support. Like, we've never done anything like this before. The closest I came was I used to co-host Creative Mornings back in Dublin, but even then, that's like a global thing. There's lots of stuff in place. Everything was already set up, and I would just like kind of saunter in and do a bit of emceeing and a bit of like social media in the background. And that's very different to running an event and a conference that you're responsible for.
And I think like just an extension of that last point is that it kind of, in essence, I'm always going on about like, when you come up with an idea, it can be really, you can get really excited about it for like 24 hours, and then you can really bog yourself down with like the how impossible it seems, and how it's like, well, I couldn't possibly start this account, I couldn't possibly run this event, I couldn't possibly, you know, go do that. Whatever your idea is, it really can feel like you can immediately talk yourself out of it. And I think this would have been very easy to talk ourselves out of, because we knew we couldn't do panels, we knew we couldn't do lightning talks, whatever. And so what we did was we kind of thought about what the like minimum viable product would be, but while ensuring like the highest quality accessibility standards. So there are some things that we have just not cut. Like, we have been like, we are paying for a human live captioner, for example. It's actually one of our biggest expenses other than the venue. And the venue is the most accessible, probably most accessible building here in Newcastle. Whereas there are other things like live streaming where we're thinking we would love to do that, but not right now. So when you're coming up with an idea, which is what this pep talk is about, really, it's about turning an idea into a reality. It can be really worth listing everything that you would love it to be, and then looking at those things and thinking which of these things which are absolutely necessary for it to live up to the standards and values that you want, and which things can maybe wait until the future. I know that that's generally how people build apps and products anyway, but that's the only reason that this has ended up being a real thing, because otherwise we would be sitting here with like, we maybe wouldn't be sitting here because we would have moved on to something else. Yeah. Probably a marathon. That'll be for next year, Michelle.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're just normal people. We're just, well, not even that, to be honest. Now I'm realizing we're not normal, but you know, normal people trying to do something real.
Yeah. So yeah, and we always like refer to that as well. Like when people are saying, you know, we've had interest in like, are you looking for speakers, blah blah blah, and then we say we're just normal men, because we just, that's what we feel like. We're just going about our days, planning this and snippets. So yeah, as Ellen said, how we did it, we set a date. We picked a date that we thought would be kind of the most accessible in terms of no big events, no kind of holidays around that time. We picked a venue, which is the most accessible one we could find. We chose our non-negotiables, as Ellen touched on, so like live captioning and things like that. And then we decided how much we would self-fund, because at the time we were self-funded, and we're primarily self-funded still, because we just, you know, this is a pep talk about making things happen. Essentially, we just decided on a number that we were comfortable with for our businesses to be able to put forward, and say, we want to do this, we're going to see what we can do and go for it. Because I think, and to be honest, we hadn't actually thought about sponsorship as even a priority until somebody else mentioned it to us, and we were like, oh, okay. But yeah, it's a passion project, and it still is.
Yeah, and we actually have 3 sponsors, so including Content Design London, which is crazy to say, but yeah, we have 3 sponsors just purely through like approaching people and just demonstrating, hopefully, that what we're trying to do is a good thing and it's unique. In terms of non-negotiables, another non-negotiable that I wanted to mention is that we wanted to support other freelancers and support other like small businesses and stuff. So there are things with like the live captioning situation. There were so many times in which people said to me, use AI. And actually, weirdly, I was at a different event like a not relevant event at where they had live captions about a month ago, and I messaged myself saying they've got live captions at this event. I don't know, I can't work out if it's a person or AI. And then there was a couple of typos, and it was also American English, and I was like, it's AI, because it wouldn't be American English if it wasn't, because it was a Newcastle event, and I was like, why wouldn't they have? So yes, maybe it did the right thing. Also, the screen wasn't visible from where I was sitting, which was annoying, but like things like that. So our non-negotiables were human beings to provide those things. The branding, which you'll see in this, was designed by one of Michelle's oldest friends, and he's a graphic designer. And he spent ages deep diving into accessibility, colors, shapes, and part of the shape philosophy. I actually don't have a slide about it, but it was supposed to. It's a modern shift on the. Obviously, we don't like this anymore in the autistic community, but the jigsaw piece in the autistic community it is a very old symbol. It now makes people think, it's like referring that there's something missing in autistic people, which there isn't. So our thoughts were, let's use shapes and make them all different, but they're all equal. So everybody's different. They're all different shapes. Some of them fit together, some of them don't. And that's kind of our philosophy on the shapes. And the shape branding will be all over all of our various merch, which we haven't really thought a lot about, but there will be some. So things like that, we wouldn't, if we'd gone into Canva, for example, and used that to create a logo, we never would have come up with this whole like shape concept.
And then another non-negotiable as well was that we were paying all our speakers, which apparently is rare for conferences and events, which I find really confusing, because we both asked around friends of ours who do speaking, and we were like, on the sly, like, what's the going rate? And all of them said exposure.
At hotel room or something. Yeah.
At a hotel room or like maybe a meal. And I was like, are we not past that in 2025, that people are still doing things for exposure? Like, so that was another one. And I think that was probably the first thing we agreed on. I think
although our speakers weren't non-negotiables, I have got a slide coming up about, I'll talk about it when we come to our speakers, but it's actually the next bit. But so in terms of how we kept doing it, we actually sat down and we were like, if this was real, bearing in mind we might not have even had branding, we had a name, who would we want to speak, and what would and then we listed four people, it's five people, but two of them are speaking together. And then once we had the branding, we approached them and they all said yes. So the actual lineup is our first choice. There's not a single person that was that's been subbed in or for somebody else. And actually a lot of people have approached us since and asked to speak. And we only have time for 4 slots, because the day is accessible. It starts at 10, ends at 4:30. It's within the school day. It's not too overwhelming. The talks are relatively short, 40 minutes. There's gaps between every one. So things like that, which is something that I struggle with when I'm at an event. Like by afternoon, 2 in the afternoon, you sat through 5 talks. You can't possibly sit through another. So yeah, we're very fortunate with our speakers. In terms of our sponsors, we reached out to a few, and some of them bit, which is amazing. So we've got some skill swap sponsors, we've got some cash sponsors, and that might probably be a question that people might ask about how we did it. We basically created a sponsorship deck, and then we reached out to the people we already had a relative connection with. There wasn't really any cold reaching out. It was very much people that we already knew through LinkedIn, or people we'd worked with already who could trust that we would deliver on what we said we were going to, because obviously we're not events people. We've never actually run a conference or an event before. So these people have put so much trust in us to know that the day will go ahead. The marketing plan has gone to shit, to be honest. There isn't a marketing plan. We just talk about when things happen. We post about them on LinkedIn. We do things like this. I've done a webinar about European Accessibility Act this week. And we have an email list which has 100 people on it, which is crazy. So that was just people who signed up in advance of the website. And that's just reminded me of something. Sorry, this is tangential, but one of the accessibility elements of the event is that the tickets are a set price. So we did ask people to sign up via email if they were interested, but we didn't offer any early bird tickets, and we aren't increasing the price. So the tickets are £119 each. There is a booking fee on Tickettail. I think it's £3. But essentially that is the ticket that everybody pays for, regardless of whether you are, you buy the day before, that's if there's anything left, or like last, few months ago. Just because of accessibility, we understand that there's lots of people who leave things late. There's lots of people who don't maybe have the money now, but know that an invoice will get paid. And then also we have pay it forward tickets. I'm not sure if that is in this deck. We probably didn't mention it, but we have a limited number of pay it forward tickets, and we're asking companies to buy pay it forward tickets. So if there are people who really want to come to the event, we've actually had applications already from charities and freelancers who know that they would get value from the event, but they can't afford the ticket price. You can apply for a pay it forward ticket. There's a Google form. You will never be identified as having a pay it forward ticket. It also includes lunch, the pay it forward ticket, the normal ticket, lunch is extra. And there's a form that just says like, explain how you would benefit from it and why you would like to come. We'll pick the people based on how many tickets we have. To be honest, we'll probably be able to get, unless we suddenly get an influx of applications, most people who apply for them will probably get one, unless they're like clearly like could afford to come sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, we're trying to make it as accessible as possible, and there is a free element to it as well, and we just keep on chugging along. I guess it's the last point, so keep going. Here are some mistakes. I'll let Michelle talk through that.
Basically, we don't know how successful our event is because we haven't had it yet. It's in September. But we've definitely made mistakes along the way. Ironically, one of them was underestimating the demand and interest in our event. So we had initially planned on selling 50 tickets, I think it was. And before we even had a website, more than that had signed up to the newsletter. So we immediately had to increase the venue capacity. The other, not having a proper plan maybe is a mistake, although in case it's not been made abundantly clear, I absolutely thrive in chaos, so I love winging it. But one of the mistakes that we have made and we're still making is we can't really switch off. This is a passion project. It keeps us going like throughout when I'm doing my day-to-day job that I find quite tedious sometimes. I know that I can I have a day per week at least that I can switch into this and do something really cool. And I would argue as well that another mistake is that we've picked speakers that we really, really want to watch because we probably won't get the chance to watch it on the day. Because we'll be running around doing everything.
And it's the speaker's choice is very selfish, to be honest. Like, it's very much just, it's like the Ella Michelle festival of people that we admire in the industry. So yeah, so we're basically, our goal, we're creating a space where accessibility is a given. The event Access Given is a 1-day conference. Whatever your accessibility needs are will be met, hopefully. We're trying our best. We're willing to learn. We've had feedback on things like the website, which has been adjusted. We've had feedback on all sorts of things that have come back, and we've just made tweaks and changes to stuff as it's gone along. So we're very much open to learn. And on the day, there'll be, feedback, hopefully afterwards. And, if there's anybody that feels something could have changed or something could be made more accessible, then we can change it for next year. And we're saying next year because there will be a next year, because we're already overwhelmed by interest in there being an next year. And whether the next year is in Newcastle, it's likely, but whether there's another event in another city, because we've already had interest from another city as well. So in conclusion, we're just two very busy people. We info dump all the time. We're trying something cool. Well, it's cool to us. That sounds really nerdy. Digital accessibility is so cool, but it is to us. We're working together. So like I said before, find a partner, find somebody who works in a complementary way to you. It doesn't have to be the same way. Sometimes we'll just work in different ways, but it works. I mean, for example, I'm not very good at admin. Michelle's probably not that good either, but Michelle has somehow become Michelle is probably maybe 5% better admin than me, so she does a lot of the administrative stuff. Choosing to prioritize something that means a lot to us. See, we're just making time for it. We are trying really hard not to burn out. It's ironic that because it did just burn out in May, but I'm okay now. And we're filling our cups, and that's what Access Given is doing for us. So I've gone on about our speakers loads, but I'll let Michelle talk about our speakers very quickly before we do questions.
Yeah, so as Ellen mentioned, this is basically like us fangirling over our speakers. So one of the first speakers we reached out to was Eshy Bailey King, and like neither of us thought that she'd say yes, but she did. And I think it took us probably at least a week to get over that. And I think I'm still like in shock that she's going to be our keynote. And she just was like, yeah, sure, it sounds cool.
And we're also obviously, like, all of these speakers, I mean, other than Craig, who's here in the Northeast, are traveling to the Northeast, like for this event. So we're asking people to travel. Yes, we're paying them, and we're also paying for the hotel and stuff. But like we're saying, come to this city that you've probably never been to before and, you know, talk at this event. You maybe only know us off LinkedIn. So it's a big ask for these people to come and do this, but they're all happy to do it. And I think Craig's the only one who's local. So yeah, sorry, Michelle, I just wanted to say that because I don't think Eddie has been to the Northeast before. And I know that Helen hasn't either.
Yeah. And like Craig he was a really easy choice because like I've heard him speak and I know that he's local as well. So it's like, maybe that's an easy win. And he's just, I mean, I'm sure everybody here, or most people here will have heard about Craig. Like he, excuse me, he created the DWP accessibility manual. So in our super nerdy cool circle, he's a big deal. And then we've got 2 other slots. Yeah, so Rachel Edwards is probably a name that most people here are familiar with. Again, Rachel is going to travel to Newcastle from up here. And then Helen and Holly, who speak together, they're both traveling as well. And yeah, I mean, looking at the lineup now, I'm still pinching myself. It's just, yeah. It's kind of, it is a selfish event because we are creating an event that we want and hoping people also want it and enjoy it. Which I think is the main thing that keeps us going when we're exhausted, and like Ellen's has her toddler and I have everything else that's going on. Like it knowing that we have something cool to look forward to in September is massive. And that's only it's only like 2.5 months away. That's fine. That's not a reason to panic.
Yeah. So the venue, I don't know if anyone, obviously I know there might be some people here from the Northeast, but the venue is the Catalyst building, which is inside the Newcastle Helix site. It's actually like probably the most accessible conference like venue in the Northeast, maybe in the North, I'm not sure, but it was designed in partnership with the National Innovation Centre for Aging. So there are incredible like accessibility. I mean, when we went to visit the site, we couldn't believe it. You can see in the photo there that there are extra wide aisles. There's ramps to access everything. There's hearing loops under the seat. There are the lighting is dimmable. There's a side entrance for the toilets. There are charging ports at every seat. There's fans under the seat for aircon. I can't even think what else there is. We also have a sensory room, which is in a separate space that we've rented out, and that's what Content Design London are sponsoring. So it's a small place where people can go to decompress between talks or during whatever they need. The capacity for the venue is 170, but a large chunk of that is us plus our videography crew, because we are filming the event and it will be distributed afterwards. So lots of people in here won't be able to attend, but they'll be able to watch it back. So that's something that we haven't mentioned. And the pay it forward tickets as well. So, you know, maybe 120 or whatever will be paid tickets in that environment if we're lucky to sell all of those. And there's so many other things about this venue that are accessible, but yeah. Sensory space. So yeah, we've got a sensory space which is upstairs in the building. It'll be signposted, and we are also adding the option to add on lunch to your ticket. There's an option to add on lunch, and then there's also going to be some signposts and information about local eateries as well, because not everyone wants to eat the local food. The food at the conference we went to last year was extremely bad, even though it was included in the ticket. We are caring for dietary restrictions. You can bring your own food. You can go off site for lunch. We are trying to make it so that people feel comfortable on the day. And in terms of the people that are coming to the event and the demographics, obviously a lot of people that work in this industry or are interested in accessibility have an accessibility need. So maybe, for example, there's a lot of neurodivergent people. So things like food can be, just tricky to get around for people like me. And I think it's important that we give that option. So now we're happy to take any questions, either about the event or about how to turn an idea into a reality, or how to work together as two different kinds of people, or anything like that. If anybody has any questions.
I have a question.
Hello.
I love the whole way you're approaching to working together and all that, and you're keeping yourselves true to yourselves. But there has to be some form of keeping yourselves accountable to yourselves on the idea. Have you done that type of a thing with when you check in? What do you do to make sure you keep yourselves accountable to each other?
It's very a trust thing, I think. It's like the accountability element is a trust thing, in the sense of we both trust each other implicitly, so we know that if one of us is going to do something, they're going to do it. And if a ball is dropped, it's like it wasn't on purpose. We do have, a Notion board that I haven't opened for several months, but within there's stuff like Michelle is vaguely responsible for this part. In terms of our skill sets, it was obvious. I'm a web designer, so I'm in charge of the website. I'm in charge of more of the design elements of it. I do a bit more on the social media, just because I have more time and ideas come. Michelle writes the content and works on the administrative side, and then she has a good relationship with the headline sponsor, so she does a lot of the communication there. So some of that stuff kind of just came about, and then most of the time it's like, can you reply to that person? Oh yeah, that person. And then we'll be like, oh my god, so and so's just bought a ticket from so and so, and then we have a moment of like disbelief. So yeah, accountability element of it is very much just trust. We both have the same goal, so it would be, if one of us was just like, actually, I don't want to do this anymore, that would be quite shocking, because we've put so much into it, and obviously we're putting time into it when we're also looking after ourselves and dogs and kids and businesses and all sorts of other things.
I 100% tell Ellen deadlines that I will do things for, and that's my accountability, because unless I have a deadline, it won't really get done. But then it's great because Ellen knows that if I say it will be done on a specific date, she knows it won't be done before then, and it will probably be done before midnight on that date. It's not uncommon for me to say I'm going to get that done today, and then I do it at like 9 or 10 p.m. Not the best. Don't come at us about work-life balance. But yeah, so I think that's my accountability. And yeah, as Ellen said, like, we both have come this far. We're both also incredibly stubborn, so we know that we'll get it done. But we also understand, there are times when other things have to take priority at the end of the day. Like if Ellen's toddler's sick, or the dogs need something, like if the dogs need walked or whatever, like we do work within each other's kind of natural rhythms as much as possible, because we have been friends for a number of years, so we understand each other's routines and responsibilities as well. So I think I would say that a really, really, really important thing is to just trust. You can't run an event like this without trusting that the other person and the other people involved aren't going to uphold their end. Because you won't even start.
Yeah,
and I say that as a cynical person as well.
I suppose, like, in terms of the other people involved, like, when it may be nepotism, but obviously I did say, like, we wanted to involve freelancers, but when it came to designing branding, it was someone that Michelle knew for a long time. When it came to hiring a videographer for an event, it's someone that I hired 10 years ago when he was 17, like when I was in a corporate job, and I took a chance on him. And since then, he's basically owed me it. So I just constantly ask him for favors. So he's now our videographer. And like, it's been things like, I know that person will, when you're putting your own money on the line, you have to know that money's going to be spent well. And like, we knew that we were going to get excellent branding, and we know we're going to get excellent video footage, and we're going to get, both of our partners are going to be there on the day. Like my husband will be in a high vis at Newcastle Central Station being like, follow me, this is the way, because he's like high. And Dara will be doing stuff as well. Like, you know, we're all playing to our strengths. There's very much an element of us being like a family of people. And, you know, Keith, our designer's flying back over from Ireland to be there on the day as well. So, yes, I'm like, oh, hire other freelancers, but also like sneakily hire the people that you've worked with before and that you trust if you're going to be putting your money on the line in order to get something done.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any questions?
I have another question.
Go for it.
Well, I've got two questions, but I'll do one. Then, if you can be bothered, I'll ask the last one. Has anyone, due to the way you're approaching this, said, "No, this is not for me"? Attendees asked, well, you said you got the speaker straight away. Have you waited? Has the approach weirded anybody out? It's
more been silence for some. So when we first started, there were some companies that I approached for sponsorship that we heard nothing back. And then that was like 6 months ago. And then since then, like one company in particular have come back to me and been like, oh, we've seen your event now. And like, we're kind of interested in getting involved. I'm like, well, it's kind of too late because we've got our sponsors and it would be a clash. But there's kind of been moments like that. So not necessarily negativity, although I'm sure people have said things behind our backs, like those people are crazy. But in terms of being nobody to some people. Lots of people know us, especially because I'm in the Northeast. Like, you'll know, Tom, obviously, I know you're not here, but like the Northeast is like very tight-knit community. So once you know a few people, like I've been here for like my whole life and everybody here knows each other. So it didn't take much to be able to write like a guest post. One of my friends runs a policy newsletter. So I'm like, can I write a guest post about digital poverty and mention the event? He's like, yeah, like things like that. It's been pretty easy to get like support from people here in the Northeast. And then, so if anything, it's been, if we knew them already, they're up for it because they know us. And if we don't know them already, they've either took a chance on us or they've just given us silence. And then they have either reappeared or they will reappear maybe after the event once they've realized that it was really good. And then next year we'll be like, I want to be involved.
Yeah, I think that's it. And then also, like, I'm Irish, and once you're Irish, if you need a favor from another Irish person or anyone in Ireland, it's going to happen. So like, and it's quite small and there's nothing really like this back home at the moment. So I've reached out to a couple of people and they're like, okay, well, we can't. There was one group in particular, we're like, we're not in a position to fund you because we're looking for funding, but I'm going to introduce you to a lot of people who might be able to fund, like, who might be able to get involved, but also we're definitely going to come because this sounds really cool. So it's all things like that. And yeah, I think ghosting in general is an issue. Like, we've been lucky in that we take the silence as a no, and it's normally something that we kind of took a punt on anyway. But yeah, I think if it was someone that we knew that ghosted us, I'd be a bit more.
Anybody else have any other questions? I've got one more. So you said you approach this in the way that you approach your life generally, but is there anything that you've been with the conference that you've learned that you thought that's made you reflect and change your day-to-day work behavior or even your personal behavior?
I think it's worth mentioning that we both embarked on neurodivergent, although we've obviously been neurodivergent since birth because that's how it works, but we both only realized this around the same time that we went to that conference last year. So I would say timing wise, I think we were at that conference last year and I don't think either of us were aware. And then we both embarked on this journey of I realized about being autistic, even though my husband had ADHD and being diagnosed, and neither of us really noticed. And then Michelle was like, oh, well, what maybe? And then we started realizing. So in terms of it, the accessibility really became our entire life because we started to realize that so much of our lives have been inaccessible from, you know, and especially in a business context. A lot of events that I go to, I find to be difficult. Obviously, when you run a business, you do have to network and you do have to go to conferences. And it's honestly exhausting, like, to do those things. But you think, oh, well, it was really good because I learned that one thing from that one talk. And if these events were built accessibility forward, then it would mean that more types of people could come, more people would learn, like, would be a benefit from it. So yeah, that's kind of been a bit of a personal journey for both of us because we're thinking, okay, as a person with ADHD, it would be unfair to have early bird tickets and then higher price tickets because the nature of ADHD means that you maybe leave things to last minute and would then be penalized and having to pay more. So that's like a decision that we learn through our, like, learning through our personal experience, and then have decided to do things that way.
I think there's also another kind of thing that we both realized, and I it's kind of only hit me now as you're talking, Ellen, is that I was diagnosed with a chronic illness in October 2022, and you had like a newborn basically. So I think there's a lot of things that have happened at parallel times for us that kind of now it makes sense, and I think that also helps us work really well together. But if anything, I think day-to-day lives, I work contract, so I'm expected to sit at my desk basically between 9 and 5. Obviously, that isn't the way I work best. And doing Access Given has definitely confirmed that to me because, as Ellen mentioned and as I've said, a lot of my best ideas happen at like weird times of the day or night, or like I'll write, you know, the website content will be written at like 9 p.m. or something like that, and that's genuinely when I feel best to work. It's just not, contract work doesn't really allow for that because not everyone works that way. So that's also another reason that I love this, because it means that I can work on it when I know I'm going to get the best out of it. And that means info dumping Ellen like for 3 hours about ideas, or writing the website at 9 o'clock, or editing the slides at inconvenient times.
Yeah.
You know, all this kind of stuff.
Like the messenger, like search functionality, I have to use that a lot. So like Michelle will say stuff and then a whole conversation will happen about like one of the dogs or my child, and then I'll have to go like search for like NHS or something to like find out what Michelle said about the NHS. Like, so yeah, it's obviously not the best way to communicate, but if we decided we were only going to communicate like via email or whatever, or have a weekly meeting, it just wouldn't happen because we just keep cancelling it. So I think there's just, it kind of goes against what, you know, a lot of this productivity kind of spiel and talk a lot, you know, use this tool to plan your day and all that. It doesn't always work that way. And I think whatever way you work best, you know, Michelle might do her best work at 10 p.m. at night, but you can guarantee that I'm not doing anything after 5 p.m. because it's bath time, it's bedtime, and then it's just sitting in a dark room for a couple of hours before it all starts again. So yeah, like we both just have to work, and you know, you just have to find someone that you work with in that way. Or if you're going to do something alone, then give yourself the credit of understanding that you're not going to be able to just like learn how to use Notion in a complicated way in order to turn your idea into reality, because you're just creating another blocker. So I guess the summary of that is to remove the things that are blockers and the things that you find hard, and focus on the things that you find easy in order to create to actually create the thing and turn the thing into reality. Because that's what this whole pep talk is about, having an idea and actually executing it, which is always the hardest part of an idea. If you're like me and you have like 1,000 ideas a minute.
And without having to get up at 5 a.m. to start your day and go to the gym and do all whatever else these people who do like productivity seem to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
If we can cobble together a conference over Instagram messages, anyone can do anything
Yeah.
as far as we're concerned.
That's been great.
Yeah.
And thank you so
Sorry.
much for having us.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Alice. Yeah, so maybe we'll see some people in Newcastle in September.
And if you know you can't make it, then if you hop on the website and sign up to the mailing list, you'll get the videos. That's the best way to get them. So you'll get the videos right after the videographers edited them and stuff. We'll be putting the talks out there. So scroll up down to the bottom, and there's this mailing list. We're not going to send like spam. We haven't actually sent an email for like a good couple of months, but afterwards that'll be where you can watch the videos back of the talks. There'll be 4 videos from the 4 talks, and maybe if you can't come this year, you'll come next year
In one of the cities. Which one?
somewhere up north.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely north. But yeah, no, that was great. Thank you. And also, I am in the Slack. I just don't always contribute because I kind of forget about it if I'm on my other machine. But yeah, if you do have anything, just message me on the Slack, or I think the best place to see updates is probably our LinkedIn, because I forget to update any of the other social media accounts. But LinkedIn is kind of the best one generally for engagement. So yeah, we're always on there. But yeah, thanks everyone.
Thank you. That's been brilliant.